Hello, welcome to the Pokemon All-Star Competition. This is Season 4, and I am Coach of your St. Louis Battlehawluchas, Cram. It's been well over a year since Season 3 ended, and I won the title, and now I'm returned to defend my title, of course, and bring a whole new team to play with. For this season, I decided to bring you guys a bit more of a streamlined viewing experience. So I got a better microphone quality, and I'm going to put in more legwork post-production by cutting out everything in between the battle scenes and offering post-commentary. And I do plan to do this for the entire season, unless I lose the motivation or time to put in all the editing, but let me know what you think of the result in the comments. This season, you can see my team on the left, and you can see my opponent on the right. My opponent is Whatever. He is the coach of the Sacramento Blings. And I did want to go quickly over the new terrestrialization rules. Outside of those terrestrialization rules, everything else is largely the same. Now we are cut down to only 2 captains, whereas last season we had 3, and this time we do have to disclose our Terra types, but we can be any Terra type we want. And as you can see, we got some pretty broken Terra Pokemon, I would say, as captains. I am rocking Annihilate, and my opponent is even rocking Great Tusk. So some people got some very strong Terra captains, and you will see more of them throughout the season. But for this season, or at least this match, my opponent has elected to bring Terra Poison, Great Tusk, and Terra Bug, Great Appleton, and I have decided to bring Terra Steel on my Annihilate. And my goal here is to just sweep with the Annihilate, clicking bulk ups. But let's see how that goes. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. It's game day. Alright, so my opponent decides to lead off the Greninja, whereas I decided to lead off with the Mamoswine. Now, unfortunately, I am not faster than this Greninja, and I am not Focus Sash, so I do need the hard switch out. I do have a dedicated check to this in the Goodra, but I don't want to go hard into it because he could have low kick, so I just decided to go Milotic instead. And I take the serve very nicely. And now what this lets me do is I can get a slow flip turn, directly into my counter as he decides to get up a layer of spikes. I do have Mortal Spin in the back to get rid of the spikes if need be, but I do have to be careful about the Jirachi in the back to block it. But here I'm going to go into Goodra, and right now he's not quite in range of a Thunderbolt. So what I'm actually going to do is he decides to get up another layer of spikes, is I'm going to go for the knockoff to remove his item and see what he's building for this week. And it turns out he is simply heavy duty boots. But now he is perfectly in range of Thunderbolt. He does decide to get up his last layer of spikes, as I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt. And as you can see, this will perfectly knock him out, getting rid of the Greninja and freeing up my Goodra to check other special threats on the team, which is great for me. Here he does decide to go into the Great Tusk to pressure me. I am Choppleberry, but I don't want to burn it now because he could be going for Headlong Rush, so instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my Annihilate. I'm Air Balloon, so I don't take any spikes damage on this switch, and I cover the Headlong Rush, which he does decide to go for. So here I have to decide, I want to go for Bulk Up because just in case he's not locked in, I can set up on it, or I can see what his initial reaction is to this. So he does decide to go Jirachi on my Bulk Up. Now, a couple of things are going through my mind right now. The main one is Trick, because if he's like Trick Specs, then I have a very useless item, and it's harder for me to set up. He could also be going for Encore, so I do decide to go into Milotic. This is my dedicated check to Jirachi. I do take spikes damage, and as you can see, he does go for the Encore. So he is rocking Encore as some sort of counterplay to Annihilate setting up. I do go for Scald on that turn, but we don't get negligible damage, and then I go to Mamoswine here because I'm thinking he'll go for the Freeze Dry, which he does decide to go for. Does a little damage. I can take another Freeze Dry though, but he does decide to go to Draco Meteor because he's not locked in. He has specs, but he misses, which allows me to go for a knockoff and get some damage. And as you see, we're going to knock off his Life Orb. Here I am going to switch out, though, because I don't want to lose my Mamoswine just yet, because he does have the Muck in the back. So I decided to instead sack Goodra, who is taking a ton of spikes damage and is not too useful outside of Greninja, who's now gone. But as you can see here, he decides rather than take the kill to actually switch out. And he's going to go directly into the Muck. And I just decided to go for an easy Flash Cannon, no need to predict anything. Like, I actually end up getting a Spidef drop, and which is nice. And then he reveals to be Black Sludge. And I'm just going to go for another Flash Cannon because this is my best damage dealing attack. I'm not too worried about switch outs because I won't be switching out myself. He just goes for the knockoff and knocks me out. I do get Gooey, but that doesn't really matter in this situation. And then here I'm thinking this is a really good opportunity to go into my Glimmora and try to remove the spikes. And I also threaten Dragalges here with an Earth Power, so he may not necessarily want to come in, but he could, you know. So I decided instead to get something out of this turn by clicking Stealth Rock, as he does go into Dragalges. So he is very intent on making sure his spikes stay on the field at all costs. So I will just get up my own rock so I can weaken that Kyurem even further now that we know he's not Boots. And here I could, I don't know what the Dragalges is, so I don't necessarily want to risk an Ironhead flinch or him being special with Psychic, which he is special and he decides to go for Psychic. I'm going to go into my Magmortar here, and we avoided 2 KO. And I'm max special attack, so we can do a ton of damage here with a Lava Plume, so I decided to go exactly for that. And here he decides to go into Appleton, which I would assume is Fick Fat based on this damage. Yeah, even after rocks, that's still a very nice chunk, and we get a burn, which is very nice if it's a physical set. And he is leftover, so the burn will also cancel out his recovery. Now here I was thinking about spamming Lava Plume here to force a few recover PP away from him, but instead here I decided to go into Glimmora, because Glimmora can threaten damage with Poison move. It can also, if he's got a physical move, I can get up a layer of Toxic Spikes, but here he decides to double. And then he ends up going into the Muck, which is very good for me because this means I get a free Earth Power onto anything on his team. He doesn't have any ground immunity in the back, at least not from what I remember. He's got Appleton to resist if he wants to, but he does go into Dragalges still, so he really does not want the hazards gone. But I decided to go for Earth Power here, and I do well over half. It's 2 KO, but the problem is that it's weakness policy. So I played right into his game plan. It's very well done on his part to cover both the attack and the spin. But here I had no choice. I do have to sack the Glimmora, unfortunately, so I will not get Toxic Spikes up this game. I did at least get up rocks though. And at this point, I do make a mistake because I do have Annihilate in the back who can Contrast-wise to take the hit. But at the moment, I was like, well, nothing lives this, and it's faster than my whole team. So surely Annihilate will never live anyway. But I decided to go for Ice Shard, and even with the crit, it's not enough to take it out. I do have one more form of priority in the back with Magmortar, but unfortunately I'm not invested, so Mach Punch does absolutely nothing, and I lose Magmortar and my Mamoswine. At this rate, my counterplay should have been to go for Terra Steel Annihilate, and even if he predicts it, I should be able to take the hit, because he cannot be fully invested into both stats. But yeah, Terra for me was an afterthought in this matchup. I just really wanted something generically good to force some decision making, but in the moment here I did not do anything with the Terra. And as you can see here, I've pretty much thrown in the towel, but as you can see, I actually do live a +2 Psychic, so I could have easily gone into Annihilate and spared all the differential here. But here at least I get to take out the Dragalges and bring this down at least a little bit more. I do get a crit, which absolutely does not matter, but at this point the game is lost because I'm down to my last Pokemon, and he can go into really anything he wants to outspeed this Mon and knock it out. But funny enough, he actually does go for another move that would not hit my Terra, so I had 2 opportunities to Terra and I just did not do it. But so I will unfortunately take the loss this first week 4-0. Which is fine. We're of course shaking off the rust. It's been well over a year since I played on Wi-Fi, but very good job to my opponent, very good game plan, and I hope to give you guys a great game next week. See you next